Brian Johnson.
No, and isn't it strange? And you know, funny, Dan, one of the things with being on that island, I remember about 5 songs in and I was going, gosh darn it, I think I've just run out of lyrics.
Brian Johnson is an English singer and songwriter. In 1980, he became the second lead singer of the Australian rock band AC/DC after the death of Bon Scott. He and the rest of the band were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003. His distinctive vocals have been the fiery fuel lighting the pyro behind the Australian-bred rock giants for more than 30 years. Black Ice, their most recent studio album to date, went to #1 in nearly every country where there was someone present to buy it. Brian Johnson is just about the coolest, most down-to-earth gentleman that you could ever hope to meet. In April 2016, during the Rock or Bust World Tour, AC/DC announced the departure of Brian Johnson, citing hearing issues. As the band explained it, Johnson risked total hearing loss if he continued.
Mutt Lang, the producer, came down and he could see that I wasn't my chirpy self at breakfast, and he came down and he said, "Is everything all right, Brian?" You know, because he's from South Africa. You know, they talk like that.
If you enjoy these videos, please remember to hit the like button because it does help us out a lot, and comment below who your favourite celebrity is that you'd love to see in our upcoming videos. Brian Francis Johnson, also known as Jonna. As of this production, he is 72 years old and was born on October 5th, 1947 in Dunstan, County Durham, England. He stands at 1.65 metres tall or 5 foot 5 inches. Johnson married his first wife Carol in 1968 and they have 2 daughters, Joanne born in 1968 and Carla born in 1973. They divorced during the writing of the Razor's Edge album. He is now married to Brenda and lives in Sarasota, Florida. He is an avid supporter of Newcastle United Football Club and was asked to invest in the club in the early 80s after being invited to meet the board by club legend Jackie Milburn. In September 2009, Johnson was diagnosed with Barrett syndrome, causing AC/DC to cancel several shows on their 2010 tour in support of Black Ice. Thankfully, however, doctors were able to prevent the disease from developing into cancer.
And I said, yeah, I'm just struggling a little bit, yeah. And it was a real bad day, the likes of which I had never seen before, Dan. It was called a tropical storm. And the sky went black.
Brian Francis Johnson was born on October 5th, 1947 in Dunstan, County Durham. He is the oldest of 4 siblings. His English father, Alan, was a coal miner and Sergeant Major of the British Army's Durham Light Infantry, who died in 1996. His Italian mother, Esther, was from Frascati, a commune of the capital of Italy, Rome. When he was young, Johnson performed in various shows with the Scouts, appeared in a play which aired on television, and joined a local church choir. Johnson's first band was the Gobi Desert Canoe Club. He was also in a band called Fresh. From 1970, Johnson played with the cabaret band, the Jasper Hart Band, performing songs from the musical called Hair, as well as soft rock and pop songs of the time. He and other members of the band went on to form Geordie. His first and only solo single, I Can't Forget You Now, was released also as a member of Geordie in January 1976 on the Red Bus label. In 1982, a compilation including only Geordie's 1973 to 1976 10 songs was issued as Brian Johnson's solo album Strange Man on the MCA label. The US 1989 CD Keep On Rocking, with re-recorded versions of the band's 12 known songs, was released under the name of Brian Johnson and Geordie, as well as the Australian 1991 compilation CD Rocking With The Boys from 1992 to 1996. In 1980, he became the second lead singer of AC/DC, with whom he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003. Johnson's first album with AC/DC, Back in Black, became the second best-selling album worldwide. Before Johnson joined AC/DC, the band's original lead singer was Bon Scott. Bon Scott sadly died in February of 1980, and he was actually the one who brought Brian Johnson to the attention of the members of AC/DC prior to his death. Shortly after Scott's death, the remaining members of AC/DC briefly considered quitting. However, it was eventually decided that Scott would have wanted them to continue, and with the Scott family's encouragement, the band hired Brian Johnson as their new vocalist. A week after Johnson officially joined AC/DC, he was sent to Compass Point Studios in the Bahamas to join the other band members and producer Matt Lang to record an album. That album was Back in Black. Johnson also sang on the band's albums For Those About to Rock, We Salute You in 1981, Flick the Switch in 1983, Fly on the Wall in 1985, Blow Up Your Video in 1988, The Razor's Edge in 1990, Ball Breaker in 1995, Stiff Upper Lip in 2000, Black Ice in 2008, and Rock or Bust in 2014. Johnson's vocals were featured on hit AC/DC songs such as You Shook Me All Night Long, Hell's Bells, Back in Black, Heat Seeker, Thunderstruck, and more. In 2016, he left the band due to hearing issues and was replaced by Axl Rose. AC/DC have made a fortune from touring. With their epic international trek from October 2008 to June 2010, they produced box office receipts of $477 million from 5.1 million tickets sold at 168 concerts. Brian Johnson's estimated earnings from the Black Ice album with AC/DC is $10.3 million from 8.7 million copies sold. Brian Johnson's net worth is $90 million. Brian Johnson and his wife Brenda recently donated a property they owned to a Sarasota non-profit organisation, All Star Children's Foundation. The property sold for net profits of $335,000. Brian Johnson is a big car man and he has a lot of vehicles in his garage. He has a 1928 Bentley Vandenplas. This is a unique car that Johnson refers to as Thunderguts. It has a huge 4.5 litre engine and according to Johnson, it oozes Britishness. A Jaguar F-Type Project 7. There were only 250 of these Jaguars made, and only 50 of them were slated to be sold in the United States. This car was named for the number of times that Jaguar was able to take the checkered flag at the historic 24-hour Le Mans race, 7. A 1965 Lola T70 Mark I. This baby blue beauty is one of the rarest cars in his collection. According to Motor1.com, there were only 15 of them made, and Brian Johnson owned chassis number 15 of the set. The car is powered by a Ford-built V8 engine that kicks out an astonishing 640 horsepower. He has a 1954 MG TF. This is another one of those cars that not many people have seen, and that's probably the reason that Johnson wanted to have one. The MG TF was produced from 1953 to 1955. A Bentley Continental GT Supersports. As a Brit and a lover of the vehicles, a modern era Bentley definitely needed to be in the driveway. This is the kind of car that speed demons and UK car lovers alike would love to drive. This is why Johnson has one. Topspeed.com reports that they pump out an astonishing 700 horsepower from a 6-litre V12 motor and hits a top speed of 209 miles an hour. The starting price is over $300,000. He owns a Petty Garage Mustang GT. Most of the cars in this video were produced in Europe, and this was the first car that Johnson purchased that was built in the good old USA. This is one of just 43 speed demon children that were spawned of a partnership between Ford and the Richard Petty Garage. The Ford company is known for partnering with some great minds throughout their history. This car has 627 horsepower and cost Johnson quite a bit of money. Just over $92,000. A Ferrari 458 Italia. No rock star has a car collection that leaves out a supercar entry, and Johnson's is a Ferrari. Motor1.com quotes Johnson as saying that his Ferrari is his favourite modern day car and says that in his opinion, this is one of the most beautiful Ferraris ever made. A Rolls-Royce Phantom. He is also a fan of luxury as well, even though it has the heart of a sports car. His Rolls-Royce Phantom is one of the cars that he was so proud to be able to drive when he got the chance. In the interview he did with Motor1.com, as a kid he saw those cars as unattainable and something that he jumped at the chance to own when he could. He goes on to say that he drives it like he stole it, in true Motorhead fashion, with a price tag new just over $533,000. You have to be a special kind of person to be able to afford that price tag. He has a Range Rover Vogue. I mean, let's face it, he needed something that he could drive daily because many of his cars are so incredible that he was not going to drive them every day, given their values. Don't be fooled though, the pretty Range Rover has a supercharged V8 motor that can get up and go whenever it wants to. He has a Range Rover Evoque. He has a love for Range Rovers and was sad to learn that they were going to stop making the Defenders back in 2016. It's a way for him to tap into his love of all types of driving, including off-roading, while seated in a plush leather interior.